to thank the organizers for inviting UN Habitat to be part of this program and to moderate this particular session. Now, what we are going to do is the following. We will have 4 different speakers. I will introduce them all together at the beginning, and then I will give floor to them one by one to do their presentations. After they have done that, I will ask one question to each of the presenters, and then we will open the floor for questions which can be asked in the chat box. All right? So in our panel today, we have the following speakers. We have Mr. Dingshan Shang, who is the Deputy Director of Energy Saving Monitoring Center at the city of Wuhan, China. And they are working in clusters, but the main partner is region of Stuttgart in Germany. Then we'll have Mr. Akinori Nakagaki, who is a Director of Transportation Policy at the Urban Maintenance Department of Toyota in Japan. Then we will have Sri Ben Chanadipani, who is a Municipal Commissioner at the city of Surat, India, who work with the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And then finally, we will have Mr. Francesco Vescovi, who is the Senior Officer for Urban Planning in the city of Milan, Italy, who work with the city of São Paulo in Brazil. So now I would want to invite the first, our speaker of this session, Mr. Dingshan Shang, Deputy Director of Energy Saving Monitoring Center, Wuhan, China. Sir, the floor is yours.
好，谢谢主持人。尊敬的诺姆斯·波姆斯副市长，各位嘉宾，大家好！非常感谢国际城镇合作项目的邀请，有幸出席该项目第4次全球大会，也非常高兴与世界其他城市分享武汉的如何应对疫情，怎样实践疫情绿色复苏的经验，同时我们共谋合作的未来。武汉呢，位于中国的中部，是中国的9个中心城市之一，是中国中部地区区域经济中心、商贸物流中心、科技创新中心以及国际交往中心，人口1200万，人均 GDP 2.1万美金。武汉作为这次新冠疫情的重灾区，在全球各国政府和人民，特别是中国人民的鼎力支持和帮助下，克服种种困难，在封城76天以后控制住了疫情，在解封后迅速的实现了经济重启、绿色复苏。下面我们简单的介绍一下武汉怎样实现防疫以及疫后经济怎样实现绿色复苏。第一，武汉如何应对新冠疫情。在面对人类未知的突发新冠疫情后，武汉从起初的短暂的不协调迅速调整，主要从以下4个方面进行了抗疫。一，做好城乡社区的防控，主要包括防止人员聚集和交叉感染、社区封闭管理、视力特定人群的摸排、无症状感染者的筛查、创建无疫情社区等。2，做好定点及方舱医院、隔离点的建设和管理，综合了选址、建筑、结构、空调、电气、给排水、消防等多专业的这个标准，对建筑的日常维护和疫后的应用制定了新的规范和标准。第3，做好健康码的应用、大数据的跟踪和疫情地图，依托智慧城市建立健康码以及大数据系统，通过扫码以及动态的跟踪所有的疫情。4，常态化的防控机制支持复工复产，疫情常态化的防控做到口罩不摘、检测发热不停、消毒通风不断、定点隔离不变，同时对不同的区域采取不同的管控模式。武汉已将这些防疫的经验与联合国人居署编著《新型冠状病毒肺炎武汉指南》，并在联合国人居署网站公布， 可供全球的这个民众下载借鉴。第二，武汉怎样做好疫后的绿色复苏？武汉解封以后，依托长江经济带和促进中部地区崛起的战略，抓住以国内大循环为主体，促进国内国际双循环的这个新格局，利用中央支持湖北经济社会发展的一揽子政策，通过采取以下6个方面的措施，进行绿色低碳的经济复苏。第一，提升医疗设施，新建33所医院，新建11个重大医学科研项目，新建4区疾控中心和急救分中心，建设 P3 实验室，新建4家平疫结合综合医院，加快发热门诊和隔离病区建设。2，完整社区建设，加快改造老旧社区，打造15分钟生活圈，推广健康型街道及邻里中心，引进文旅、文创、科创新型产业。第3，做好环卫设施和应急保障，打造生活垃圾处理的标杆城市，加快建设世界一流城市电网，力争3年实现 5G 网络全覆盖，新改扩建应急供水、雨水深邃污水处理等措施。第4，做好健康城市，提升空间品质，建设百里沿江生态文化长廊，建设升级山体公园、郊野公园、长江碧道等慢行系统，开展东湖绿心等，提升城市人居环境。第5，综合交通和应急物流行动，推进中部地区国际门户枢纽、全国高铁网络中心、长江中游航运中心城市建设，推动建设武汉直通线等6条高铁线路、10座过江通道，打造高效便捷的物流运输系统。6，建设功能区和亮点片区，打造高铁创新发展区、国际会展商务新城、通航产业园、枢纽功能区以及山阳设计之都等重点功能区，加快大健康等产业基地的这个建设。同时，我们还进一步加强与 C40 城市气候领导联盟、一带一路绿色产业联盟、气候变化南南合作培训基地、中法武汉生态示范城、武汉中德国际产业园、中欧清洁与可再生能源学院等国际交流活动，推动武汉与世界的合作共赢。目前，武汉的疫后经济呈现逐季加快回升态势，整体经济复苏强劲，全年的经济有望与去年持平。女士们、先生们，在推进武汉与世界其他城市合作发展过程中，我们愿意积极的倾听来自各方的建议，开展不同城市形式的合作交流，共同分享发展机遇，共同推动城市对城市的合作迈步向前。最后，预祝本次会议取得圆满成功，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much for the exhaustive presentation of this very important experience in Wuhan. And please allow me to give the floor to our next speaker, who is Mr. Kenori Nakagaki from Toyota. Nakagaki-san, the floor is yours.
皆さん、こんにちは。おはようございます。豊田市の中垣と言います。よろしくお願いします。私からは豊田市の交通まちづくりについて、ご紹介させていただきたいと思います。次お願いします。次のスライドお願いします。豊田市の概要でございます。豊田市は日本の中央、愛知県にある都市でございまして、面積は918平方キロメートル、人口は42万人の都市です。市の中心産業は自動車産業で、車の町として知られておりますけれども、 市域の約7割が森林ということで、非常に自然豊かな町でもございます。次お願いします。これは豊田市の公共交通ネットワークの図です。2005年に豊田市は周辺の6町村と合併をいたしまして、市域が3倍に広がり、広大な面積を持つ都市となっております。車の街であります豊田市は、多くの市民が移動に自動車を使うということもありまして、当時、鉄道やバスの公共交通網などは十分な状況ではございませんでした。この合併を契機といたしまして、都市としての一体感を持つために、バスを中心とした公共交通ネットワークの整備に取り掛かりました。次お願いします。豊田市ではですね、世界に誇れる、賢い交通社会を目指しまして、交通まちづくりビジョンと、その実行計画であります、交通まちづくり行動計画を策定して、運輸部門の CO2 排出量を削減することを目標に掲げて、環境先進都市としての各施策に取り組んでいるところでございます。今回はその中でも3つの取り組みを紹介させていただきたいと思います。次のスライドをお願いします。1つ目は、情報技術を活用した公共交通の利便性を向上を図る取り組みでございます。日本では、シームレスな移動を図るために、全国共通で利用ができる交通系共通 IC カードが導入されておりますが、豊田市では、鉄道、基幹バスすべてで IC カードが利用できる環境を整えています。また、市内バス運行情報の標準化、およびオープンデータ化を進めています。市内を運行するバスの情報を国のフォーマットを使いまして標準化して、Google マップでの検索を可能にしております。これにより多言語化を図ることができ、外国人の方にも利用ができるようになっております。また、バスロケーションシステムと連動したバスの遅延情報も掲載できるようにしています。データは誰もが利用できるようにオープン化しております。次のスライドをお願いします。2つ目は MaaS の取り組みです。これは IUC プロジェクトでのグルノーブル市への視察がきっかけとなり、行った事業となります。豊田市はラグビーワールドカップ2019の開催都市の一つとなっておりました。大会開催に合わせて乗り換え案内などの交通サービスを展開するジョルダン社と連携し、観光型MaaSのモバイルチケットであるエンジョイトヨタパスを企画いたしました。バスの乗り換え案内を検索するスマートフォンアプリ上で、観光と連携した一日乗車券を販売する実験を行いました。この取り組みでは、民間バス事業者との連携を図ることができました。こうした情報技術を活用し、多モードの移動手段と連携した MaaS の社会実験に向けて進んでいきたいというふうに考えています。次のスライドをお願いします。最後に燃料電池バスについてです。豊田市では水素社会の実現を目指し、燃料電池バスを日本で初めて路線バスとして導入し、車両性能や信頼性の検証、運行における課題の抽出や対策検討などを民間事業者と共同で実施してまいりました。また、インフラ面におきましても、水素ステーションの整備を進めております。そして2019年には日本初の量産型燃料電池バス、ソラと言いますが、ソラをこの地方で初めて路線バスとして運行しています。持続可能な次世代交通としての位置づけをしていきたいというふうに考えております。 以上、豊田市では先進的な取り組みを実証を経ながら実装化を図ることで、持続可能な交通社会の実現を目指しています。そのために EU の諸都市の事例も積極的に学んで取り入れていきたいというふうに考えております。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Nakagaki-san, for your very interesting and rich presentation. I have some echo. For your very interesting and rich presentation, which covered so many aspects. It's always good to see the public service, the digital, and the high technology. Thank you very much indeed. Our next speaker is Sri Banshanin Hipani, Municipal Commissioner from Surat, India. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very thankful to you to allow me to speak in this great forum. Surat, when the first initially we faced the situation of COVID-19, that was, initially because nothing was known, much less was known to us, and because of that, there were some information asymmetry, and that information had to be sent, percolated to the people. That was one. Second was to ensure that Surat basically is a city which has lots of migrants. Almost 70% of the city is with migrants. So because of the lockdown, because of the entire city was put to a halt, in fact, because of the lockdown for 68 days. So because of that, there was many, there were many challenges that we faced. Next slide, please. So because the challenges were huge, and first was the pandemic, the epicenter was here. The social impact of, there were a lot of issues of labor migration. Almost 70% of the city wanted to leave. There were issues of sustainability, and there were issues of sustenance also, forced displacement. Mobility impact was there because no mobility was available. So the major challenge was how to feed, how to sustain, and how to ensure that there is no law and order problem in the city. And because of fall in economic activities, there was disruption in the supply chain. There was, we took all the actions, but employment, trade, economy, and all that was a matter of, disruption. Next. So we see that we have taken a lot of, initiatives to cope up with these challenges. We have tried to contain the COVID-19 situation. The response was fast. The health facilities were, immediately strengthened. And to enhance the economic activities, we have stopped lockdown after the 68 days, and relatively, we have allowed the industries as well as, as you know, Surat is a great center for textile as well as diamond. And, there are other engineering industries as well. We have ensured that the economic recovery took place with all the precautions. We have for sustainability, people were not be able to going for any recreation activity. We started Cycle for Change Challenge. Pedestrian-friendly street designs were done. Diamond and textile industries were properly started. The labor migration plan was done with the government on board, and almost 450 trains were taken. And all these migrant laborers were there. They were given food and everything. And we have started again the diamond booths. We have taken a lot of steps, particularly Surat became the major center for export of PPE kit in the country as well as in the entire world. So because of all these social protection schemes for the marginalized was done, the urban compactness was ensured and de-densification was moved at, and improved air quality that led to improved air quality and drop in water pollution next. In fact, for these migrant laborers also, we have taken a lot of initiatives, like we have started the rental housing scheme in the city for the first time in the entire country next. And we have taken a lot of, changes in the city. Particularly the vulnerable areas were identified and proper focus was given. Equitable distribution was ensured, and most of the things happened through digital mode. Effective urban services were given. Now we are thinking of putting electric buses. There are innovative solutions. And now the entire city is in a full throttle, great economic recovery. I know everything is almost back to new normal. But in the changed circumstances, we have to see the financial, aspect of how to make recovery very fast. That is one challenge. Second challenge is now the vaccination thing has to be done. For that, entire arrangement is already done. And third is the overall, we have seen the kind of equitability as far as the city is concerned, and we have been able to give proper focus on the little marginalized areas. And because of that, there has been a tremendous progress now, tremendous development now, and the city is back into action. Surat is the second cleanest city of India. Surat is also the second smartest city of the country. And in fact, we are taking a lot of measures for sustainable development, like cycle for change, and there have been very good, effective urban services in the city, whether it is water, sanitation, waste collection, electricity. We have gone a lot of digital and innovative solutions were done. We have formed a committee in the health front, in the financial aspect, and also in the industrial recovery. So I think we have contributed a lot, and in future also cities will be handled in a different manner that we have learned from this COVID-19 response. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very interesting experience from Surat. And to conclude the presentations, I will now give floor to Mr. Francesco Vescovi from Milan. Mr. Vescovi, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. In the next few minutes, I will briefly summarize and share some results from the adaptation strategy of our city that we have also presented to our partners, the Brazilian city of São Paulo, during the IUC cooperation program. The adaptation strategy has been developed between April and June this year to recover from our first lockdown and to prepare the city for what has been named the new normality of the following phase. The strategy has been based on the vision set in the agenda for a green and just recovery, a document set by the International City Network C40, written by a task force of mayors, which was chaired by the mayor of Milan, Giuseppe Sala. So starting from that document, our adaptation strategy has been further developed and completed in consultation with our citizens, following a wide participation process. Almost 3,000 proposals were submitted by single citizens and associations as well. As you can see from this very brief summary, the adaptation strategy is an extensive framework of policies and action from different areas of interventions. Due to the lack of time, I will just concentrate on mobility and public space and services. Also because they include very challenging policies and receive the greatest attention during the participation process. Like in many other cities, the basic problem for us was in terms of mobility was that the public transport has suffered a drastic decrease in its capacity due to the distancing measures. So it was important to give the citizens alternative way of moving around safely and sustainably. And above all, we wanted to avoid a massive shift from public transport to private cars. For doing that, we implemented two coordinated strategies, the open street strategy and the 15-minute city vision, which was also Paris implemented, for example, which share the same approach based on tactical urbanism actions. Tactical urbanism is a very recent way of interventions on public spaces based on very cheap and quick actions for removing the cars from public space, making the space available for more sustainable uses, just using paints and light urban furnitures like those you can see from the pictures given. So the open street strategy was aimed at limiting the presence and use of cars in favor of cycling. We extended the network of cycle lanes throughout the city, giving priority to pedestrian mobility. We enlarged the pavements of the sidewalks, providing also more outdoor spaces for the street activities such as pubs, restaurants, and thus improving also the economy after the lockdown. And we also provided low speed areas and many other traffic calming measures throughout the cities. We also have policies to try to desynchronize the working times of the city on the whole by promoting smart working whenever it was possible and promoting new patterns of working times for retail and commercial activities. The 15-minute vision has been implemented was aimed at strengthening the autonomy of the neighborhoods, as many citizens had to stay at home or they couldn't move outside the neighborhood. So we needed the neighborhoods to be more sustainable, their services more accessible, and so we also provide, again, using tactical urbanism interventions, more open space for outdoor activities, for socialization, and we also trying to spread cultural and sport activities throughout the public and also private, sometimes spaces of the neighborhoods, also to reach the most vulnerable people, also with networks of volunteers. So coming to the last slide, the lessons learned, just to mention a few from these specific issues with mobility in public space we would like to share is that participation has been fundamental in improving our regional strategy. It should reinforce collaboration among citizens. The improvisation has proved very difficult. Those strategies and those policies which proved more effective in bringing a change were those that were already in the pipeline, ready foreseen in our strategies. And public space has been confirmed an increasingly perceived common good. Many citizens now seem also to support our policies to reduce the presence of cars. That's not an easy task in a city and in a country which relies very much on the private cars for moving around. So we needed to increase both the quantity and quality of public spaces. Among the qualities, I would like to stress the flexibility, flexible use, because I think in this period, in this emergency, and local authorities should be given the opportunity to experiment and to stress a little bit the rules, to test new solutions. Then sustainable neighborhoods. The neighborhood unit has been confirmed as a valid planning principle to bring green and inclusive strategies. And last but not least, we would like to stress the cross-sectoral cooperation, which was fundamental in involving both private and public, and especially different departments from the public side, and that were coordinated inside a very, I think, clear framework of policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What a multifaceted strategy. I would like to ask you a question. I mean, you already stressed that other cities could learn and replicate your strategy. But to which degree would you think that other cities must tailor your solutions, especially thinking about the vulnerable residents of the city? Could you please answer, Mr. Westwood?
Well, I think that working on the public space is another way to help the most vulnerable people, because more often they are those which must move to other places, or they have to rely on other places for their living. If we can improve the neighborhoods, the working in the neighborhoods and the meeting inside the neighborhood, I think it would be one way to help the most vulnerable people. And of course, they also have to rely on networks and local hubs of people helping them. It depends on the type of the vulnerability we are talking about, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question, if I can ask Commissioner Pani about Surat. You spoke about the labor migration plan and the rental housing scheme. If you think of your experience in Surat, which solutions you think have proven the most effective in the short term, and which of them will stay as long-term solutions as well?
For the short-term solutions, collaborative approach was very, very important. What we did, our collaboration with all the government departments in the city, as well as our collaboration with the non-governmental organizations, our collaboration with the elected representatives. This collaborative approach was very, very successful, because on a day, almost 7 million, food packets were distributed. So, total of around 170 million food packets, meals were distributed in the city over, lockdown period. So, during that point of time, the overall collaborative approach was the best approach in the short term. But in the long term, as we know, for the migrants, we have created a cell where, young people have started now working. As I said about the affordable rental housing scheme, apart from that, all the benefits under all the welfare schemes of the country can be given to the migrants. So Government of India has already started the thing for many schemes. And now we have started that migrant labor cell in the city of Surat. First time in the country.
Thank you very much. A very interesting feature and so adequate solutions to it. I would also like to ask a question to Nakagaki-san of Toyota. Now, you mentioned and presented Toyota's Smart Mobility Action Plan. Have you met any difficulties in implementing this plan, and what difficulties have you confronted? The floor is yours, Nakagaki-san. Thank you.
スマートモビリティの実施について難しいことですが、新しい技術を定着化させていくにはちょっと時間がかかるかなというところですね。なかなか新技術うまくいっているものもあれば、うまくいかないものもある。そういったものを定着させていく、市民生活に定着させていく。新しい技術ですので、たくさん民間の企業の皆さんとですね、連携を図っていかないといけないということもあります。 そういったところでですね、そういった民間のパートナーとうまくやるにはですね、いろんな調整事がやっぱり出てきます。そういったところをですね、調整をかけていくというのが非常に行政の施策の中に入れていくというのは非常に困難なことであります。そこを超えて、より使いやすい交通をですね、作っていくというのが我々の使命かなというふうに思っております。
Thank you very much, Nakagaki-san. And my final question would go to Mr. Shang from Wuhan. You presented the very comprehensive set of actions that the city took when it was affected by COVID-19. What aspects of the urban environment and urban services have been affected the most by COVID-19? And do you think that they will need to be seriously readjusted in the next years? Deputy Director Shang, the floor is yours.
好的，谢谢主持人的提问。我们认为这个主要的影响以及今后需要调整的城市建设和管理方面有4个方面。第一个，首先是对政府管理的这个理念、价值观念以及日常运行机制上的这个影响。我们认识到，这个城市建设和管理既具有经济建设的职能，也更具有公共服务职能。未来我们将进一步完善公共卫生服务体系，加强疾病预防控制体系建设，提高突发公共卫生事件应急处置和医疗救治能力。第二点，对城市的规划和建设的影响。这次疫情将推动建筑学和城市规划设计理念、方法和标准规划的更新迭代，由此推动城市的健康发展。未来在城市规划和设计时，我们可能会同步将健康城市的理念和方法融入其中，如智慧社区、混合社区、职能平衡、绿色车道、绿色建筑等等。第三，对城市管理方法的影响。未来的促使城市管理更智慧化进一步提升，如精确的社区、个人层面的城市数据系统、公共场所公共交通的实时防疫、突发公共事件的及时响应，以及各部门各系统的综合联动，城市交通的智能化、便捷化、共享化得以加快实施。第四一点，对城市的日常运行的影响。疫情虽然阻止了我们城市生活当中物理交通的传递，但同时也加强了在线的信息传递。未来会将在远程办公、在线娱乐、在线医疗、在线教育等领域迅速崛起。加以生活物资的配送，人们足不出户就可以完成生活所需，取代相当一部分的这个实体发展行为，甚至改变住房、开发、城市配套等一系列的城市形态，颠覆整个城市运行的底层逻辑。回答完毕，谢谢。
Thank you. So impressive, Mr. Shang. You have thought about everything. It's easy to answer questions when you have prepared everything so well. Thank you very much to the speakers, but we have a chance now for several minutes to get questions and comments from the floor. And may I ask Georgia Rambelli to field those questions? Georgia, can you help me, please?
Of course.
You have echo.
Should be better now. Apologies for that. So yes, indeed, I'm happy to help you. We started to receive a few comments and questions on our chat, actually, building upon not only the presentations that have been shared with us until now by our distinguished speakers, but also following the presentation and the remarks by Mr. Poppins. One of the things that came up from one of our attendees, Dr. Kwasba, he was mentioning how, of course, we have talked about a lot how different sectors need to be integrated, our policy and our strategies have to be more connected and cross-sectoral, and we need to really have an overarching response to the different services that our societies and our municipalities are providing to their people. And in particular, he was asking about sharing some expertise on how to handle civic-related waste management. He was mentioning that in his case, in his city, this has created a lot of anxiety at the ground level for waste handlers. So it would be interesting to know a little bit more what kind of impact the emergency had on the waste management side of things.
Anyone willing to answer the question in the panel?
Yes, I'm from Surat. In fact, in Surat, we have a biomedical waste policy. All the private facilities, government health facilities, all are included in that. Every day, we used to generate almost 1,200 kgs of biomedical waste. In fact, all the mobile health facilities also had a biomedical waste policy. Almost 420 metric ton of biomedical waste is being generated. But the most important question is how the informal workers, particularly in the health sector, were co-opted. The health, safety kits were given to them. There was no anxiety. There was no problem. In fact, in Surat city, the lowest possible casualty, fatality has happened with the biomedical waste handlers. The precaution was taken so much that there was no fatality, and in fact, the biomedical waste management in the city, there was a study, and it was said that it is one of the most modern biomedical waste handling as far as collection, treatment, and disposal is concerned in the entire country.
Thank you very much for this answer. You were so well prepared for it. I know that there are more questions, but unfortunately, we do not have more time in this session. So what I would suggest is that we have taken record of those questions. I'm sure that the coordination unit will convey this to the speakers so that they could answer it in some way to the interested parties. Please allow me to thank to all the speakers of this session very much. It has been very interesting to hear of these different experiences. I'm sure that there is a lot to learn, but now, before I conclude the session, I would like to give the floor back to the IUC coordination unit so that they can briefly introduce how you are going to work in the next session at the breakout rooms. Thank you for inviting us, and the floor goes now to IUC coordination unit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paulius, and thank you to all of our speakers. Indeed, we are going to be diving in a little bit further into the topic of green recovery, trying to understand and to exchange more on several aspects that can be underpinned into this great challenge, but also opportunity that we are facing. So we will be dividing ourselves in 3 sub-plenaries. The first one focusing on the topic of smart and digital solutions. The second one looking into how to redesign and provide transformative approaches to our cities post-COVID. And the third one to look into funding sustainable urban action, so more into the aspect related to developing bankable projects and finding appropriate resources for our green transition. We will do that by dividing you automatically into these 3 different rooms. Unfortunately, you will not have the opportunity to choose firsthand, but we can reassure you that all of them are amazing sessions with great examples that will be featured. You can click join on the pop-up window that you will see on your screen as soon as we proceed with our splitting in different rooms. So you just have to do that. Each room will actually be provided with only one language in interpretation. So we will kindly ask you to, if you have any challenge with the translation in particular or any language barrier, to return to our plenary room, and we will make sure to reinstall you into the room that actually has the language provided that you desire. So I would still nonetheless really invite you to try to explore a little bit the program that we have developed for you in that specific session, and to really try to dig into the conversation wherever you end up. All of them, I can reassure, are very good. Sylvia, may I ask you to please clarify which language is in what room?
Sure, with pleasure. So we have Japanese interpretation available in the Smart and Digital Solution room. We will have Chinese available in the room that will dig into redesign cities post-COVID-19. And finally, we will have Spanish interpretation available in Find Sustainable Urban Action room.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. So you heard. After our discussion, which will last about an hour, we will all reconvene back here for some closing remarks and a small farewell before the end of our session. So I encourage you to really take advantage of this opportunity and to learn as much as possible and share as much as possible all of your experiences, all your questions, all your input with your colleagues. And I would ask then my colleagues if it's possible to proceed with the division in breakout rooms, guys.